Hi, this is Tactical Reserves. I'm Brinks.
I'm Zach.
I'm Troy.
I'm Abel.
And I'm Chad.
And this week we are going to be discussing 9th edition points changes specific to our armies, the impacts we think they're going to have. We're obviously going to talk about hobbying and a couple of clarifications on rules, and I did want to bring up some stuff from our viewers. But first, we're going to talk about this week in hobbying. What have you been doing this week, Anvil?
I've continued to work on my breachers because I think they're going to be really good in ninth. So I built another squad of breachers and then got them primed in metal and done, as far as base coated. And then I've been working on Thoraxi sterilizers to do fast attacks for AdMech. Got a squad of them. I've started on them, but they're a little fiddly with a bunch of spiky bits, which you have with AdMech.
How about you, Zach?
I switched it up and went back to guard for a while. I painted a Hellhound, painted an Astropath. I think I've got about 2,500 points painted now, so I can adjust and still get my 10 points a game.
Nice. Well, you also have been painting some bikes. I've seen for sure. The custom bikes are looking good.
I'm still still working on bikes. I've got 5 done now. Still got a ways to go, but
How's
I'm working on them a little bit.
How's the big plane coming along?
I shelved that beast for now. I'm tired of looking at it.
Got a big PCB for it.
Yeah.
The 9th edition rules really took the wind out of my sails. I'll get to it, but I'm trying to finish out Custodes first.
How about Chad? Oh, wait, never mind. Chad doesn't hobby. Troy, how about you?
I got my first Skull Cannon. I would say it's done.
It looks amazing.
And I built 30 new Plague Bearers just in time for the points changes. That went great.
Yeah, you did kind of get pooped on for that. All right, Chad, did you do any hobbying this week?
The only hobbying I did this week was moving stuff around so I could paint this week. Anvil Prime my intercessors, and this week I am going to build 10 more intercessors.
Or he said the other 4 of us could slap him. You heard it here. So just be watching for that slap video because he's definitely not going to do it. This week I got 9 Tomb Blades painted all the way up. So that was pretty exciting. And I'm finally at the finishing state of my destroyers, which I'm really not happy with. So if anybody out there has like a 3D printable schematic for destroyer guns that don't involve the tubes, let me know, because I think what I would like to do is hack the ends of their guns off and find some sort of 3D printable gun, glue it on there, and paint that to match the army. Because the new warriors aren't going to have tubes on them anyway, so it doesn't have any like cohesive look with the newer army. And I'm going to be playing all new warriors, and I just don't like them. I think they look like shit. So if anybody actually has a Necron destroyer gun, I would really like to hear about that. The next thing I want to do is I want to talk about a couple of comments we got from last week's episode. First off, thanks everybody that came into Twitch and just said what's up. And thanks to the people that did comment. I do want to bring up 2 people. First one is a Facebook user that commented on there, and he was talking about making it what is that? What is the one where you can keep while we stand we fight. He wanted you to have to shoot at a really durable Inari. Is it Inari or Eldar unit? I'm getting to it. I didn't have that one popped up. But let me check that out real quick. And
Wave Serpents?
Yeah, is it Wave Serpents?
That's an Eldar. You can take
Eldar? Okay.
Take Minunari, but
Yeah, he said he's going to make Wave Serpents his most expensive model with twin Eldari missile launchers and Spirit Stones that go up to 180. So either you shoot at what I want you to shoot at, or I get free points. I guess that's not exactly a super powerful model in his army, and he sent me the stat sheet on it, and it's definitely durable. It's got an invuln, and it's got a damage reduction on it, right?
But he's trying to just price you into shooting at models that he considers less useful.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
it's an interesting idea to build your army that way.
I couldn't field models that are under 180 points. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, they definitely, and that's the thing, it is a big single model, but I thought that was an interesting concept. I was super down on while we stand, we fight. I was pretty down on that. And the other comment we got was from a Reddit user called Veritas Lux Maya. And he said, you guys spent a fair amount of time talking about it while we stand, we fight. But you missed the biggest beneficiary, Triple Riptide. This secondary is tailor-made for a Triptide list, as even in games you lose badly, it's not uncommon to have 2 Riptides standing at the end. With the shorter game length, it is even easier to keep them alive the whole game. I had not considered that because Tau is not an army I'm proficient at or have played against a lot, so that's pretty interesting. And
you can give a Riptide 3 vulnerable.
Yeah.
So I mean, you might and protect them with drones.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of durability there that I had not considered. I just kind of thought, like, well, you got to kill the Riptides anyway, but if they are that bad to shoot at, I guess you probably just say, well, I'm going to clear your infantry and whatnot and kind of focus on that instead of the Riptide, so it kind of makes you have to shoot it. It's like shooting at the bird, right?
Yeah.
Like, nobody enjoys shooting at the bird.
High toughness, 3 of them vulnerable is just a pain in the ass.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you both for those comments. I thought they were great. I wanted to bring them up. If anybody ever has a comment or something like that, I definitely we'll talk about it in the show. As as long as it pertains to the show, we'll definitely bring it up and talk about it. So thank you guys for the comments, and hope to see them keep coming. So this week, I guess the next thing I do want to bring up briefly is if you missed out on your Indominus box, we don't really need to talk about that, but if somehow you've been living under a rock, but you listen to this podcast, they are doing the tailor-made Indominus boxes on the website. So don't buy one on eBay. Just go to GW's website, and you'll get it before Christmas. So keep that in mind. I thought we should briefly touch on that. I think they can't help that they had this insane...
billion people ordered them.
Yeah, everybody's ordered a shit ton of them.
They said they'd get everybody a box, and they kept true to their word.
Yeah.
Took them a couple days, but...
So anyway, I think that's a positive side. I tend to be one of those people that rails on GW when it comes to their game rule stuff, but they seem to be back in their product.
So after those 2 comments, how do you feel about While We Stand We Fight?
I think with the Wave Serpent list, I'm actually going to play that guy, playing that list this Saturday, so in 2 days. I will have my thoughts on that next week. As far as Triptide goes, they're obviously durable. We've discussed every episode. I think we talk about how hard the bird is to kill. So I can't imagine trying to kill 3 birds with bodyguards. Essentially, like that does seem pretty nasty. So
a lot more firepower.
Yeah, with more firepower. Like it just generally, I had not considered that. So I will say, if you're a Tau player, that makes sense. That's if you're a Riptide Tau player. Now they're saying that there are new variants of Tau that have some viability, but if you're a traditional Triptide Tau player, that's probably the way to go. So
at least look into it. We've rated that one pretty low.
Yeah.
If you play Tau, maybe you should rank it slightly higher. It's still on a list by list basis.
And something we didn't talk about where you can try and manipulate to get those points.
That's
manipulate your list.
Apparently, a lot of people were thinking that way. I mean, we've heard 2 different ways of trying to abuse that particular rule. So that's nice to know that maybe we had blinders on.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is when we, as a group, like with the armies that we're all playing, inherently the most valuable target in our army is the most expensive model anyway, and they just always get killed. You know what I mean? Especially you as a guard player, Zach. Like, your shit's going to die. Like, that's its job. And you play a lot of high point models. Anvil, it's the same thing with you. You play high point models that don't always have invulns. And when you played knights, pretty much everybody was like, we got to kill them. So I guess I've always been of that mind.
I just never really justified thinking about it, spending 200 to 600 points on models that I don't want to die, and I'm just going to try to hide out.
Yeah.
Like, it seems super counterintuitive, but I mean, if the rest of your army is that powerful where that's useful, then maybe it'll work. I don't know.
Yeah,
Definitely worth testing.
Yeah, and like 3-ups on Riptides is crazy with the
They got to take
with
a
the
while
drones.
to get it, but that's
Yeah.
definitely worth.
Yeah, I just don't know that much about Tau. I've only played Tau a few times. So.
Me either. That is my. If I were to pick up another army, that's probably my next army to pick up. I think if I were gonna have two armies, I'd play like Necrons and Tau. Those would probably be my two go-tos at this point, because every other slot is pretty much filled within our play group. I think, right? Because we got Orcs and Eldar, obviously from players that aren't here but are pretty much always willing to play, and then we have everything else covered here, I think.
We have Marine variants, and we have pretty much anything on the Imperium side is mostly covered.
Yeah.
We don't really have sisters / like the sisters.
Yeah, but sisters are pretty similar to Marine.
Yeah.
They have a couple special rules, but for the most part.
So yeah, we're lacking a few, but I would say Tau is probably
The most glaring of the weaknesses.
Yeah.
Aren't
yeah. And we have a local player that plays it. I just don't know him.
Yeah.
So-
Well, it's with the COVID and everything.
Yeah.
It's still been a little rough trying to get games, trying to keep the circle fairly small.
And pretty much all garage games. No.
Yeah.
All the,
It is all
Public
garage
games.
games.
all the
garage
game
games.
stores are closed.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll definitely keep sending those comments. I just can't say how much. I can't say I appreciate it enough. So this week we're gonna go ahead and talk about some games. I unfortunately did not get a single game in this week. I was gonna try to get that Eldar game in today before the show so I could talk about it. It just didn't happen. So I want to start with Chad and Troy's game. Now, you guys want to just roughly go over what points you played at, anything you remember about the missions or the deployments, and who won first?
Troy won. We played 2,000 points with the new points, with all the new rules, all the new secondaries. Pretty much how the games are going to be played now.
We had the first mission in the pack. I don't know the name of it. It's
Okay.
6
We had
objectives.
6 objectives.
Hammer and an anvil. Only one objective in your starting deployment zone.
Okay, and so first off, who went first?
I did.
All right, and then do you guys want to go ahead and what was it? Raise the flag? Is that the rule?
Raise the banner.
Raise the banner. We had some clarifications with this one because I can't remember how we discussed it in the episode while we were recording, but there was some confusion as to whether or not you could raise multiple banners on different objectives in a single turn. And it turns out you can, which is the way they played it, so that was good. But just in case you're wondering, there is kind of some confusion in the main rules code, in the main rules book, versus the exceptions for the secondaries that allow you to do that action multiple times. And I believe Anvil got that from Goonhammer, right?
Yeah, I asked the rules hammer guys, and the basic rule book says that only one unit can start an action per turn. And that's just what it says in the actions portion, where it says actions and psychic actions, that page. It says only one unit can do that action. So it became a discussion about whether, now, before we get to that, then the secondary for the mission says one or more of your units can start to do that action. So a lot of people interpret that as, well, the actual mission secondary says you can do more than one unit, so you can. But it became a discussion about whether raising a banner on objective 1, you want to call it, and objective 3 are separate actions, or whether they're two instances of the same action. Some people seem to believe that those are separate actions. So you could only have one unit trying to raise the banner on each objective, but 2 units technically raising banners.
Yeah, and I was one of the people that actually thought that you could just raise one banner, period. Like, I thought no matter what objective you were on, that was an action. So I was actually wrong about that because we discussed it today at lunch, so I was glad he was able to clarify.
This is probably one of those day one or whenever they drop the FAQ to kind of like.
Or be in the.
It'll be
Well, in the glossary.
There'll be more to streamline. Like, GW's going to have to say something to make sure we get it right.
Yeah.
Because it does seem like both ways are in the book.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we just wanted to talk about that real quick because I was like, that's super relevant because we discussed them in depth. I don't remember having that discussion. And then as soon as you guys said it, I was like, well, yeah, obviously you can only do one, and I was wrong. So
I just assumed the exact opposite that
Yeah.
you could always do too.
I agree with Zach. I thought you
I just
always
assumed
do
it was like
way.
that. Then when they started discussing rules, it's like, oh, maybe I was wrong.
Well, it's in the
So-
paragraph of the actions area, and it's not even in the bullet points that it says that. It's just in the actual
Text.
paragraphs. So it's kind of easy one to miss because a lot of people, I'm sure, just
Skim the
hit
bullets.
the bullet points.
It was
Right.
very
Because we
relevant.
already know most of these rules.
Yeah.
It was super relevant to the game on Monday between Troy and I, as he took Raise the Banners, was doing multiples, and won the game by 3 points.
Yeah. So yeah, you guys can go ahead and jump back in your points. I just wanted to drop that clarification in there for everybody that has been listening, and I'm curious if that's happened to anyone else yet. So yeah, go ahead and talk about your list, man.
What did you play?
I played demons. The first time I played 56 plague bears. I played 2 squads, 28. And I played my knight for the first time with double Avenger Gatling cannons. That's all I've got for it, so it was kind of, that wouldn't have been ideal in that match because I mean his biggest targets were repulsors. But the knight didn't do much, but it was fun to play. Kind of cool.
Think you play it again?
I played it mostly because I could.
Yeah.
I'd probably play it in a fun game or something. It's a cool model. It's 3 CP, hundreds of points.
Or did you have meltas on it?
Yeah, I mean it would have been better in that
Would
match.
you have
But
played it with the thermal lances?
if I had thermal lances, that's probably how I would kit it out because they're cheaper, and in our meta, the high AP, high strength is a lot better.
Well, and I think they are because those knights were built when the meta was super
Right.
horde.
Yes.
So yeah, that's definitely not ideal for the current meta game. I can see that. Since everything's pretty much shifted. So other than the 56 plague bears and the knights, what were your other HQ choices?
The Lord of Change, Keeper of Secrets, and Great Unclean One. All 3 greater demons. And for the first time, I kept 75 points. I think it was
78.
70 something reserve, and I summoned my Sloppity Bowpiper because really hurting on HQ slots. So, and he's not that important. He just helps me morale on my plague bears.
Okay, how'd that go?
It went good. I took the bell on the Great Unclean One, which was a little overkill because I only had to get power level 4. So I didn't really need to take it. And would have been better with the sword later in the game. So that was a mistake, but the summoning went great. It's just like having extra HQ slot. As long as you think...
That's actually super solid tech too.
Yeah.
That's
The
great.
Great Unclean One, I mean, he's not going anywhere on the first turn, most likely.
Yeah.
He's generally in the back anyway.
Yep.
So I can get my little, you can do the same thing with a Change Caster and the Bird, or just to get your little HQs in there because we're definitely fighting for slots in the detachment building.
And piggybacking on what Troy said, Dan Houston posted a list in the Faction Focus on the Goonhammer article, and his was they summoned Epidemius.
Yeah.
They left enough point to summon him because you don't have enough HQ slots, but instead you summon him onto the table, and he gets bonuses based on any time a demon.
I think that was a Death Guard list too, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
just-
yeah.
You
'cause
can't
it
even
was-
take him in a Death Guard army.
Yeah, because it was triple Defiler, triple
Triple Plague Burst
Plague
Crawlers,
Burst Crawler.
which are all demons, so Epidemius works towards that.
So every time a demon kills something, you get a bonus.
Yeah.
So you summon him first turn. The Demon Prince with Wings summons that dude, and then they get around the HQ list by doing that. So I think it's something that
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
for
it's pretty
demons.
good.
Yeah, that's some
might be
hot
playing
tech,
with.
man. That's
Definitely helps with the detachments because I was taking patrols and battalions as many as I could just to get HQs and then filling the troops with Nurglings.
Yes.
Now it's
Losing the Supreme Commanders really
Yes.
made list building a lot more interesting.
all those people out there that were taking 3 Keeper Secrets and Supreme Command, now they're having to fight for.
Oh,
figure out
God.
their-
yeah. No, I think I understand it's more restricted, but I do think the list building phase has gotten to be a lot more creative.
I think it is. I'm really coming around on that part of it.
and the summoning is a creative solution
Yeah, I like
to
it.
the
Yeah,
problem.
no, that's
Pretty
fantastic.
much nobody used it in 8th edition except to split your
That's
horse.
true, and now
Like,
you're gonna.
Now
Use it all
it's
the
definitely a
time.
viable strategy.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Which we'll talk about demon points later on, but that's obviously a sore subject. Okay, Chad, what did you play?
Pretty much the standard list I've been playing, just shaved down a little bit. 3 intercessor squads, veteran intercessor squads. I paid the extra CP for them, which I liked. 1 scout squad, Bobby G, a relic Leviathan Dreadnought, and 2 repulsor executioners, and a captain and a tech marine. That's literally my whole army.
Yeah,
10 things.
yeah, I know you got the bitch slapped by points this week.
Hey, my tech marine went down, but we'll talk about
Yeah, we'll talk about
everything
that.
else later.
So, how'd you guys feel you deployed? Do you feel like you made any glaring mistakes, Chad, especially since you're still the most growing of players out of the group?
This game, I actually don't think I deployed incorrect at all. I think I deployed exactly how I should have deployed this game, particularly since he deployed first, and I had a couple more things to deploy than he did, so I could kind of counter deploy. I just kind of saved my big stuff at the end.
Yeah.
And he's like 28 dudes build a wall, and then he has 5 things left to deploy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Countered with intercessor squad, and get Bobby and the 2 repulsors last.
Does your list play any blast weapons?
The only blast weapons I have are the grenades from the intercessors.
Did you use them on the plague bearers? Did it feel good? No,
Not on the
no.
plague bearers.
Okay. I was curious. I just want to know how blast
I did
feels.
at the end of the game, but it didn't matter at that point.
Okay. So, what about you, Troy? How'd deployment go?
It went all right. The biggest mistake I made was I moved my knight up and just didn't underestimate Bobby G making like a crazy long charge.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was the biggest. He killed it on the first turn, and I just if I had moved him
3 inches back.
3 inches
Yeah.
back, yeah.
for sure, even an inch back,
Because he's got 36-inch range, 48-inch range.
on the I think it's 36 on the Gatling guns.
yeah. Yeah.
so
But I was
definitely-
working. Yeah, no, he didn't need to be up there, but I was working towards fight him on all fronts.
Well, he's all, yeah.
Whatever the new recon's called.
And it's also Troy. I mean, you know he was going to get up there and start stomping on some shit.
Well, yeah, my plan was.
Tap dances and stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, but I had to get that front, and it just he made the charge, long ass charge.
Yeah. Well, I mean that'll happen. So
You definitely sucked Bobby G into the middle to kill the
I
knight,
did.
and then promptly killed him.
Yeah.
On your turn.
My keeper secrets with the crazy speed was able to just go over there and cut her down, which was actually my plan all along. I just didn't expect to lose the night.
yeah, which ends up being about an even trade.
Yeah.
So that's not the worst. Did you make the revived Bobby G roll?
No.
How bad did that feel?
Did not feel great.
He's failed it twice the last 2 times.
Yeah.
Not being able to re-roll him
He did
definitely
his-
brings up the argument of not taking him.
He
Especially
did
with
his
the
job.
points increase.
Yeah.
He did his job, and I took Titan Slayer, and I got the knight.
Yeah.
And then he paid 3 CP to get it back, and I killed it again. So I got
That
all
was my
15
biggest
out of it.
mistake of the whole game.
Getting the night back
Yeah, it was a waste of CP. I
and
just
give
wanted
up
to do it 'cause
points.
it's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Because you can do it. It's fun.
Yeah, my biggest mistake was taking domination as a secondary, as I scored 0 points
he's
off
the
of
guy
it.
with 56 plague bearers.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. I don't know what you were thinking there.
I was thinking I could get behind him, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a wall.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so many models,
should've
man.
took
And
first-
you got to remember, he's got Big Papa, Unclean One hanging out in the back.
I wasn't. My thought was I'm going to run Bobby up there. He's going to kill something, and I can get. If I get.
I feel like Bobby is the result of. Like, I'm not calling you out, but I feel like
Overconfidence.
Bobby is the result of a lot of mistakes when you play. Like you
sent him
lean
in.
so
You're
hard.
the
on
only
him.
player I've ever seen that just runs him forward as fast as possible.
He kills.
You don't even use him. For what
Anytime I run him forward, he kills what he's going after.
Then he dies.
It's true.
yeah,
Well, he's not supposed to die. I'm supposed to make a 4 up.
He basically uses.
but that's
Yeah,
only
you got a coin
that's
flip.
only 50%.
Yeah, you got a coin flip on whether it comes
Yeah,
back or not.
that's only 50%.
I mean, the first 2
Maybe they'll
turns,
change that.
he's always next
Maybe
to the
Give him
whatever
the
he's
Celestine
next to.
2-up.
Like he's too many points to just castle.
I agree.
He's got.
Have you considered testing a replacement for him? Because there is like
Marcus
a
Calgar.
He's not just a castle, he's a deterrent. Like,
Yeah,
people aren't going to come in there when he's back there.
That's
Give,
yeah, but,
yeah, but I mean the repulsors are already a deterrent. I mean,
you get in close on them or
And
not.
Troy just gets right in there and slashes prices.
yeah,
well, he would do that whether or not Bobby G was there though.
Yeah, but if
I
he
don't know
sends
if I
something
would.
in there,
He could probably intervene with that dude, and then it's over.
from 6 inches out instead of 3, because Bobby G is ridiculous.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of games I don't feel like you're getting. I mean, killing a knight obviously you got your value, but you don't think you did?
What?
Killing the knight?
No, it got value.
I
It's
just
a stratagem. It costs 2 CP to heroically. 6 inches.
I was like,
Bobby doesn't do it by
I was
himself.
like,
No.
he doesn't have every ability in the game.
yeah, he does have a really who sent me a. Zach sent me a freaking data sheet on a captain.
Blood Angels captain.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus
That's-
Christ, it's a book. It has chapters. Like, you have to turn the page to read all the rules these things have.
There's a lot of rules on the Marines.
I mean, Bobby was with the 2 repulsors on that side, and now my intercessors on the
It's just like
objectives.
seeing that captain. Like, that captain is as offensively powerful as Bobby G.
That's
For sure.
That's not exactly true.
Bobby G's sword
He's a
is,
he's a chapter master. and a beat stick, like
Yeah.
And a lieutenant.
which
But
is not
he
the
can't.
other
But he
two.
can't do
No,
all those
but,
things
yeah.
at the same time usually, because you leave the repulsors in the back and
Yeah, that's what like
you spread them out.
A lot of the secondaries are about table control,
right.
board control.
And Bobby G will
So-
definitely like ward off like a 12-inch bubble around.
Yeah,
him.
so,
Just like don't want any
like-
part of that.
Like recon becomes hard, but once Bobby G's out of the picture, it's like whatever. I can move up.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
fair.
But I mean, I maxed out my other 2 secondaries.
I just don't know if 400 points is good enough to be as a deterrent for
If I'm
me. I
paying
guess.
360 for
Well, if Chad continues to run him in the teeth of death, it's
Can you
not
maybe
worth it.
hit?
It's
no,
not
I
worth
mean
it.
I have to probably be a little more cagey, is our word.
Yeah.
you need
with Bobby G.
You need to push him up the side slowly.
Like you need to treat him like a high value target. Like
He walked as slow as he could, but he brought that thing over there to go next to the knight, and I'm like, well, that has to die.
It was just on the objective. It was still on my deployment.
And then that objective was
So
mine.
you brought Bobby G over there,
So he
and that's not
he
true.
baited it. He baited it into the Zach tactic, where it's like it's coming right for me.
Yeah.
You gotta kill it.
For sure. I did get to play my Keeper Secrets for the first time.
and it did some things. It
Yeah.
sounds like.
It did. It killed Bobby G.
You ran it right at me.
Nope. This was the first time I played it. We're not gonna talk about the last time.
Troy's like it was at the middle of the board. Zach's like it's coming right for me. Murdered.
Well, the board is smaller, so.
I know.
I feel like
You got me.
I feel like even losing Bobby G on turn 3, I could have still won that game if I just took first strike instead of recon, because I would have got 8 points. Because he killed nothing
It
on the
wasn't
first
recon,
turn.
it was domination.
Domination. Sorry,
You wouldn't have got recon either, but
he killed nothing on the first turn, and I could have put an entire, Relic Leviathan Dreadnought into some Nurglings and definitely
How did
blew
you
them
not
off the
kill
table.
anything on turn 1?
I shot the knight
Yeah,
at
but
the.
he could
Pulsar.
have changed
Oh,
his
strike
game.
6.
Here,
I was like,
let's,
if he
If
won,
he took first strike, I would have shot 2 squads of Marines.
let's assume you were going to take first strike, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, and you hammer everything into a unit and you kill a thing, right? Well, what would that thing be in his list?
I would have just killed a squad of Nurglings.
What
That's it.
Nurglings? What are you playing?
I squatted 4 Nurglings.
All right.
That's where I made my biggest.
But if he knew you were taking
No,
first strike,
Dreadnought would have murdered him.
if he knew you were taking first strike, they probably would have been out of sight.
Well, he took recon.
Doesn't
They-
matter.
they
He can
need to
deny.
be
He can not. That's the hard part of first strike. You have 1 turn to do it, right?
I just
All I gotta do is kill one thing with my 2
first strike.
repulsors and my Relic Leviathan Dreadnought.
I would say that outside of those Nurglings, ain't gonna happen.
And you also killed a
I
knight.
killed the knight on the
Well,
first
because
turn
Troy,
too.
what I'm saying is,
Because you made an 11-inch charge.
But I'm saying the knight wouldn't have been there either, probably. Like
Troy,
It was definitely a better play than
domination. But
Domination.
domination
It
is
was
like
definitely a
an
better choice
S
than
tier
domination,
choice.
but I don't
Like
think it was a good choice either. But
yeah, because Troy, if he's
we
looking,
can argue that point all
if
day.
he's looking to
but-
deny you victory points, Troy shoots the knight at your.
Yeah, the knight was
Marine
definitely
at your-
better.
at your-
yeah, he picks a small like pleb unit you have.
It can kill 2 Marine
Well,
units.
he had all the
but
psychers, so I
had-
took the one that killed
The only
5
thing-
points for every psyker you kill, which
The
was fine.
The only
I
thing
had
that
to kill him.
the only thing that threatened my army was the repulsors and the dreadnought. Like I didn't shoot the Marines because I didn't need to. But if you took first strike, I could have easily wiped out 2 squads of Marines.
What I'm saying is you gotta make sure you don't get hung up on the mindset of if I took this secondary, I would have won that game.
Yeah, it
Because if
changed
you
the whole
took
game.
that
I'm not
secondary,
saying it would. I'm saying it would have changed the whole game, and he may not have been as aggressive as he was, moving his dude all the way across the board.
yeah.
Then you
But
don't
but
kill
then
it.
again, if he plays more conservative with that knight, it lasts 2 more turns of shooting, which is also bad for you.
I still could have put.
There's so many
Yeah,
variables
yeah.
like,
once you go
like,
down
you
this
just
road.
start. You can't do this. Like, you just
I'm
argue.
saying even if I
Domination
even if I
scored.
got
He
5
scored.
out of it, it would have been by killing something.
Yes, it was a
It would
better
have
choice
been better
than
than getting
domination.
0.
Yeah.
And Zach and I both told you before you took domination was a bad idea.
Well, he taught me out of first
You
strike.
did that on yourself.
Yeah, I think
He's
we
like, "Are you
talked
sure
out a first strike as
So then I
a.
ran them all again. I'm like, I guess I'll do this. So I can get back there.
Yeah, he told me first strike, and I'm writing them down. I was like, I don't know if that's the right one. And he's like, domination. I'm like, that's definitely not the right one.
He's like, final answer. Like, okay.
That
So
sounds
I was
exactly
wrong.
what he said. Yeah. It's just one of those things. Just keep that in mind, especially with like first strike is one of the hardest ones because if they just counter deploy you, like you just lose your points.
I think first strike's the easiest one. You can kill something.
Mm.
My army has
You gotta
so
kill
much
more.
firepower.
Nope.
If
You have to
if
kill
you're only
more.
getting
I have to
5
do
points
it.
out of it.
5 is more than
Look,
zero.
5 is
takes
more
away the
than
warlord.
5 is more than 0. Well,
And most warlords go down
I don't
too.
think I could have killed your warlord.
You did kill my warlord.
That would have got me 6.
All right.
How many did you get?
0.
All right then.
But I couldn't take that one
Let's move
because I
on.
took Titan Slayer.
Yeah. Just something to keep in mind. I don't want every game to be like, well, if I took this one.
That's something you need to approach the games when, like, we're listeners or whatever, when you go to a game. You can't go, I've got these 3 secondaries I'm going to take every time I play the game.
Yeah.
No,
You need to evaluate your opponent's list on top of what your list can do.
I would suggest having at least one built into your army.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Plan on using 1 secondary that's totally reliant on you at least.
Yeah, I
And
agree
then it
too.
just-
I like 2 even. I mean, definitely you better have 1.
A minimum at least one that you know that you can do every time, regardless of what
You're going to have idea of ones you can get.
Right.
But you need to be able to adjust.
And that was my mistake.
But you're not going to be able to first strike. You just think, I can kill a unit every turn. I have one of the hardest hitting shooting armies there are, and I couldn't kill one of Zek's custodian units.
Well, because they're really hard.
Yeah, but I was like,
They're harder to kill than
you
those.
run up against lists that are like
And
custodes.
well, I can't kill anything on the first turn.
Yeah, then they're just saying, you just can't be like, my army's going to first strike every
The
time.
problem is I have to pick that before we deploy.
Yeah, but you know what they're playing already.
Yeah.
You get to choose those in the list building stage, the one that you're actually going to be good at.
Like, yeah, there should be. There really should be 2 that you're good at, because your opponent is not going to leave enough holes in their list for you to have 2 more choices. Like, you're going to be lucky to find a choice. If they build their list really well, all the choices are going to be bad. And I mean, that's the whole
Well, I mean, like one of those is probably mission dependent.
yeah.
So.
Yeah. Like the secondaries on a lot of
you
missions.
gotta have at least one, and
Yeah.
the more you can do self-sufficiently, the better off you are for sure.
Right.
But having one built into your list is definitely mandatory, I think, for 9th edition.
I definitely think 9th edition is going to pivot toward the mindset of like cagey gameplay. Like I mean, everybody's talked about it. We're not the first people to say it. You can win games now without killing a single model. So like, just being firepower based does not win you games. Really, I mean, hardly any of the secondaries. What are there? There's 4, and you can only pick one of them.
Yeah.
And that's it. The rest of them are pretty much non-kill based.
Yep.
So,
I mean, I thought about for the whole week, like the repair, teleport, Homer, dropping a dude in.
yeah, I think that's a much better choice.
It would have been really good against Troy because he's playing a lot of big greater demons.
But I didn't
Yeah.
have
and having to
anything.
keep him back in the back
Yeah.
to
I almost paid command points to deep strike something to just put it in the building.
And they can't come in the building and get you.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You can go, but you can do that in the list building phase. You can go, okay, I want this to be built into my army. I want to be able to do the repair, teleport, Homer, except for people that can obviously deny it. And I think that's just like a
worried about not
sacrifice.
taking it because I'm like, we're just gonna run 30 plague bears into my squad of 5 dudes that are hiding and they're dead.
But plague bears only move 5 inches, so
And they have no AP on their attacks.
yeah.
They do not kill Marines very well at all.
But those are just things to think about. I agree. Make sure you build as many in as you can. Like I definitely left last week's show being really high on the teleport Homer. I thought that was freaking sweet. So that's particularly
When he
one.
puts giant models on the table, and there's not a lot of them. It is intimidating. I tell you, I'm like, well, I can't take this because I can't kill more because he, has 70 of these guys and 3 huge things. So I'm
It's
not going
gonna
to
be
get
really
two a
hard.
turn. Like,
it's gonna be really hard to kill more against Troy's army specifically.
I didn't think I could kill more. I thought I could kill first, but I got scared off because they are gigantic and the bird. I had flashbacks to the last game because it's unkillable.
Yeah. I mean, and those are valid concerns. Like I said, once again, just try to build everything into your army that you can. Making him have to set shit back, like you said, just in case you do that. Repair, teleport, Homer that's brutal.
You were talking about first strike too, specific to your army. You were playing a Leviathan Dread, and I don't know if that's going to continue going forward. It only has a 24-inch range. That's always something that can get outranged.
Yeah,
especially on turn 1.
Oh, 2 repulsors, like.
Yeah, the 2 repulsors are fine, but it's like killing a unit isn't always guaranteed.
I think considering just cutting the dread for flexible space to put things into your army to let you build in win conditions as far as secondaries could be something worth considering, because the 2 repulsors are insane. Like, watching you shoot just roll like a billion dice.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
It's a lot. I mean,
And they're always in range, because I know, like, everybody's always like, well, we'll just deploy out of range. It'll be fine. Versus your list. When you have the dreads.
I agree. I mean, and that's a good way to go into the points. I mean, I'll go first for the points. if we want.
Well, we have any other games we want to discuss? Was there anything else good that happened this week as far as...
I did win a game, but
That was last week.
That was this week. Chad did win like his first game ever, so that happened.
I mean, technically he won.
He won. We got to give it to him.
He killed you in points.
He killed me in points.
Anvil deployed super deep into his deployment zone to outrange Leviathan, and then got pinned in his own deployment.
Anvil missed the secondary podcast, and I was very fresh on the secondaries, and my entire game was, I'm just going to try to win with secondaries. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Like,
Actually,
yeah, because you were nearly tabled,
we
right?
talked about he had 5 models left.
Yeah.
And they were scouts, and I could have killed them on my last turn. But you ran Bobby G down that side, and it basically pushed a bubble down the left-hand side to where my army had to kind of go out and around.
Like, I took 2 turns away from him because he's so slow.
And I'm playing the breacher spam list. I'm playing 12, I'm playing AdMech. I'm playing 12 breachers, robots, the mortar boats, and the doom crawlers.
Which the breachers are gross. One squad killed a repulsor executioner on the first turn.
Yeah, I mean they're good.
Really good.
They're
really good.
Really good.
But they're slow. Even if they advance, they only advance D3. They can't make it real far.
Yeah.
So they got pushed. I had
a range.
36.
Yeah. So.
Well, but I had to hide him from
the whole time.
Chad Chad went first, so I had to deploy. I deployed him.
But you didn't know Chad was going first when you deployed.
Yeah, so I deployed him behind cover, so I didn't get repulsored.
No. Which makes sense.
So I had him put in cover and behind stuff so they didn't get repulsored if I didn't go first, which I didn't go first. So I had my breachers, but Chad did kill my. Oh, I played one of the Stratoraptor that game.
And he took recon.
And I took the engage on all fronts, and Chad smoked my flyer on turn 1.
Because I couldn't shoot the breachers. I'm like, well, that has to die because he's going to come back here because those count.
And then Bobby G pushed down the left side, and I didn't want to rush head first into Bobby G. Not something you want to do. So I just kind of spread out from the vehicles in the back and shot Bobby G to death over a turn and a half or so.
Yeah.
But that put me so far pushed back on my right side. I tried to push up the left side as I could, but I just couldn't get to the primary objectives, and I couldn't get to the engage on all fronts.
Yeah, you couldn't get any secondary over.
Chad had moved forward because he got to go first, move forward on all the objectives, and it just took me so long to get him off the objectives that he piled up such a huge point.
By the time he started killing models, I was up 40 points.
He got max primaries in the first 3 turns.
Wow.
I think that's how you beat AdMech, though, is you're not going to outshoot that army.
No.
But they're not very maneuverable. Especially when they're too tank heavy or destroyer list. They just...
Taking out the plane on the first turn was a good play.
You just have to out primary them.
A lot of people seem to think you can just get away from, especially with the new points as come out as they are, that you'll just have to get away from the tank heavy lists and get into either the Taraxi fast attacks, or not the sulfur hounds, the
horses,
the raiders. Yeah, well, there's 2 different variants. There's the sulfur hounds and there's raiders. A lot of people like the raiders because they like.
Are those the robot horse guys?
Yeah. And
oh my god,
they have pistols.
Awesome. They are awesome.
They have pistols and they can snipe characters, and they're super mobile. Now the Taraxi are guys that they're like swooping hawks.
Yeah.
They have an assault flamer and with no AP, and they have talons and they get +1 strength if they attack. So they're not the worst.
I think that's something that a lot of people are noticing with 9th edition is your real mobile units. This game's 9th edition is a lot more about table control and speed than 8th edition was.
Yeah.
8th edition was all about kill. Now we're talking if you can find infantry units with 10-inch move, 12-inch move, get up there, raise the banners, you can really start getting away with the points early in the game.
Yeah.
So, but there's kind of a talk that maybe AdMech might go to a more fast attack. You're going to have either the mortar boats or doom crawlers, for some punch.
Or the robots.
Well, you're probably going to have robots, but
I think you just need robots and everything else could be fine. The robots are insane.
Robots and destroyers.
The destroyers are just
I
Yeah,
think the
Or whatever they're
hoverboats
called, the
are great.
breachers. Yeah, those
breachers.
guys.
They're just
They don't need line of sight. They can shoot. Like the hoverboats are real good.
yeah, they are. They were my number one target.
but
when I
they're
played
not-
him.
They're not 150 points good as well.
I don't know. They're pretty good.
I mean, I think it's going to take some time to
may
shake
not
out.
be.
I think it's learning how to play when it is not a kill meta. Like your list now is one of the most killy lists in the meta, right? But now all of a sudden it's not a kill meta. So it's like, how do you adjust? So I agree. I like the fast attack concepts
Well-
and those changes. I think those are smart.
But in reference to the game, Chad, basically, my list wasn't super mobile, other than I had my flyer, and an occasional fronts lets me use the aircraft as it ignores that. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll be able to push the first turn. Maybe I won't be able to get on his side, on his halves of the board, but I'm going to obliterate some stuff, and I'm going to slowly work my way forward, and then the plane can be picking up the third quadrant kind of all the time because
Yeah.
it does the double pivot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a maneuverable craft, so you can pretty much get it wherever you want it.
Double pivot.
And then I went first and killed a murder boat
Yeah.
and the plane and some breachers and
We kill like a breacher.
two breachers of 4.
Well, Chad
Oh,
saw
the
the
plane-
weakness in the secondary choice
I'm
and
like-
killed it.
Yeah,
I'm like, well,
which is good.
That's bad for me.
So you learn
Full
from the
It was
secondary
the-
cast.
There you go.
I learned from that cast. I walked away from that,
That was
cast
the
last
most
week. Very
put together
excited.
game where I think I deployed correctly, I chose my secondaries correctly, and I played 80%.
You
correct.
played your secondaries
Yeah,
and the
I'm like, I
primaries.
have a plan. This is how I win. And I still was scared to get tabled because I thought I was going to lose. I forgot about that I don't lose. Because of reasons.
If tabling was the thing you would have
The tabling thing I would have lost.
Like my robots ended up at the very back of his deployment. Like
Yeah.
they ended up
They
back.
had all the objectives on the last
On
turn.
the last turn, but it was
Too late.
for
It's-
naught.
yeah, for the first 3 turns, Chad amassed such a lead
Yeah.
that I couldn't reel it back in.
That was my
Well, that's
plan.
good. That's a great game, though. I mean, honestly, like
I
that's
knew
a
he
that's a
had too
freaking
much
awesome game.
firepower, and he was
You-
going to kill me.
You end up basically, we'll call it tabled, but you win on points. Like that means that was a very, very fucking good game. Like
It was a good game.
those are the kind of games that like I had a game like that with Zach back when I was playing Morty, and I think he killed Morty on like the first turn or something, and I was basically playing Keiji with my obliterators, and we got down to the last turn, and what happened is we rolled the dice to end the game, and it ended for me, which meant I won. Had we gone one more turn, Zach would have won. Like it was that close. It was a really good game.
The
That
only-
was before ITC was the thing.
Yeah.
Or before we were playing ITC.
that game just the only reason I thought about I'm like I'm just going to get points and maybe I'll just win because he won't be able to catch up. He's so far behind. And the first game I ever played against Troy, that's what he did to me. I was 5 dreadnoughts. I'm just blowing stuff away, but he's like, I got these objectives. You castled too hard, and I have nothing. I have like these dudes left that are hiding over here, but I'm up by like 30,
I
so you lose.
I think it's a we'll know more when the GT pack comes out, but it's also kind of an indictment of the current mission pack that we've seen that going first really matters. I think if I go first, I win that game and it's not close.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I do think it has very much pivoted back to going first matters.
I blow up his repulsors.
Yeah, he would have killed my repulsor. The plane would have been in my corner. It would have been way closer. I would have had a chance.
I don't think he doesn't get out and get on all those objectives that early.
Yeah,
And-
I mean, going first, obviously, we're back to going first matters because
Yeah.
both of you deploy conservatively. Somebody gets to capitalize on that.
Yeah.
And he got to kill very valuable units in the first turn.
But he didn't really. I mean, he did it as far as
He
the
did
secondary,
from your secondaries.
but he got to establish the board control in the middle of the board, and then he dictated that for like the first 2.5 turns or so before I could push him back,
Yeah.
and it just amassed such a lead because
Yeah,
he
it's
got
like
to go
come out
first.
here and get in range of this dreadnought and both repulsors.
Yeah, I'm very, very hopeful for Necrons for that reason. Like, they have the army, like, I was trying to... The guy I'm playing this weekend was asking, like, what the weaknesses are to the army. And it does have some, but I'm very much, like, I've got a lot of mobility. I've got a lot of good AV weapons, a lot of good range weapons. Like, I do feel like as long as the 9th edition codex for Necrons doesn't put them into this, like, weird, kind of want to be melee guys focus, which I'm hoping they don't because they just changed the Overlord to reroll shooting attacks, ranged attacks. But if they do that, I think Necrons are definitely going to be a top contender because they're durable. Their points increases aren't insane. I mean, and like the Veil of Darkness being able to teleport anywhere on the board at any point in the game.
Yeah, that's strong.
Pretty good. Really good.
Pretty good.
But as far as our game goes, I don't know if, other than choosing maybe a different secondary, but I wasn't really thrilled about any of them. I took First Strike, which I got 5 points on. Chad killed more because he killed 2 and I only killed the repulsor. I hit the other repulsor pretty hard, but I didn't kill it. And then, but the engagement on fronts really, that one and the primary missions, the primary objectives, he was getting 15 points a turn, I was getting 5.
Yeah.
You know, it just added up. So I think maybe if I choose a different secondary, but I didn't have a ton of good, like I didn't really want domination.
No, I don't think that sounds like that would fit.
It still gets me pretty much at the same spot. And you can't choose another killy one, you know. That doesn't have any psychers. So we're both in the, we don't get any of the psychic warpcraft ones.
Yeah.
So it kind of limited my abilities. But maybe I choose Raise the Banners, or I think we might have been on the
Hell, you're one of the people that play While We Stand We Fight. I don't know what your most expensive models are in your army, but
it'd have been the more.
Well, Raise the Banners has to be infantry, right?
Yes.
So do you have any infantry in that army?
Yeah, the breachers.
The breachers are infantry.
Okay.
But
you want to shoot them every
Yeah,
time.
the reason I didn't do it is because the breachers are so good at shooting.
yeah.
You don't want to like take a
Yeah,
turn off.
I think While We Stand We Fight may be valid in your army just as like a trash tier
the problem
thing
is
that you have to take.
the problem is if you're taking the mortar boats, which everyone thinks are like the greatest tank to ever exist, which I don't agree with.
They're really cheap, and
They're
they
cheap,
don't
they're
need
good,
line of
but
sight.
they're not. But it's not like they obliterate everything they touch. They just
They're the same exact conversation we have with Zach on Basilisk.
Yeah.
They impact the game every game, no matter where they are. On
Well,
the
I
board.
agree, but I think by adding if you play 3 of them, that's another 150 points you give up in your list.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
understand
like you're
that.
looking at them as like they're not worth. Well,
They're not a
this
Castellan.
This is getting into the points thing, but
Yeah.
you're looking at them like they're not worth the 50-point increase. But they didn't just get a 50-point increase in a vacuum. Everything went up. These guys aren't 50 points more. They're just a percentage more, and they were not. They were insane for what the points were.
Yeah.
Everyone knew they were going to go up.
Everyone seemed to think like they were going to go up to like 130 because they were like 111. I think they were like 111 points.
Yeah,
Which is dirt cheap.
Dirt cheap.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, they're going to go up to like 135 ish. That's a pretty good increase.
150's right around there.
And still, that's a lot of points.
It's not that many.
I mean,
This is the same conversation we had back when the castle went up.
this is back when you told me that 120 points didn't matter for cultists, so 45 don't matter for 3 murder boats.
It's a lot.
and last
But a regular Rust went up 20-something points.
Yeah,
So 20 of those points are basically free, just for being a vehicle. So did they really go up that much?
Well, the thing
And
is,
they went right where you
the
guys
thing
were
is,
suggesting they
we don't.
Yeah.
There's no free weapons on it. Like on all the other ones, they build in one weapon like free. Like the cheapest one is free. It's not true on those. They're like they went up to like 130, and then you got to pay for still got to pay for the turret gun.
yeah. I don't think there are.
Demon Princes are 200 points. I don't want to hear it.
Demon Princes are 200 points.
If you could not shoot,
Woof.
if you could not shoot my boat, I'd be happy with it. The point is, they went up to 150 points. They're the most expensive model in some army. They have no invulnerable save, and they can just be shot.
But they
with
can
mortar.
shoot from non-line of sight.
Yeah, but they can only shoot the mortar. But they still got the missile launcher and stuff, which is a good.
Is that an optional? Is that optional? Well, I guess if you don't have the missiles on it anyway,
The missiles,
it's not
the
got
missiles and the
firepower.
stubbers are built in the hull.
Okay.
You get to choose between 2 different cannon options.
Okay.
So if you park it behind a building, out of line of sight, so it
You
be
can't
shot
shoot
at,
any of the main.
you basically just get to shoot a 3D3 mortar out there, which is like.
No, it's still pretty good, but I don't think it maybe is 100.
Yeah, it's not 150, and it doesn't. It's the only thing in my army that does not have an invulnerable save.
Yeah.
Well, unless I play the plane. The plane doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm not. The plane's fine, but
All
I don't
right.
think it's where it's at. But
Well-
so as far as that's concerned, that's why I didn't take that kind of secondary, because those things can just, like, especially against repulsors or battle cannons, you're just on 6-ups and then they just die. Like, I get 6-up feel no pain. That's the new, if you build the Data Horse Forward world.
Yeah.
So, like, but but the 6-up feel no pains are going to keep it alive.
Yeah,
So,
I don't like
just,
6-up feel no
so
pains anyway.
You're just donking away 15 points there, so because they're the easiest of the vehicles in my army to kill.
Okay.
Last thing I'll say about it is, as he was struggling for secondaries, I thought it was super easy to take secondaries. So I took bring it down, as he has like 30 vehicles.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think his list was the most powerful list pre-points change and old meta.
Yeah.
It was like all the people talked about was how powerful AdMech are, but the thing is that they changed the landscape of the metagame by changing how you score and win these games. So it's going to be it's going to be easier for you to pick stuff because these new secondaries lend themselves to beating lists like that, and it makes it much harder for lists like that to win.
I mean, I maxed primaries and maxed all my secondaries.
Yeah.
I should win that game.
You should. But like I said, that has to do with just adjusting to the changes in the meta. Because like after we talked about secondaries and stuff, I realized like how important it is to not just kill shit. Like on my new list, I took out. You know what? Let's go ahead and jump into points. How about we do that? Because I want to talk about list changes, and kind of what I did. But I will not go first because let's talk Troy, because Troy's army probably got pooped on the most. So let's just start from most pooped on, and we'll get to least pooped on.
I don't know about that, but yeah, Demon Princes went up a lot. Plague Bearers went up another point after they recently went up a point, but I kind of expected that one. Horrors, I think, are the big losers. They went up in points, and I think some people haven't thought about this, but they're psychers. So against Marines and stuff, any army that doesn't have psychers, every horror is worth a point towards the Pour the Witch.
Which is insane.
Yeah. So I don't think they're really takeable anymore. With the high points, and even like when you split, like Brimstone Horrors are 5 points now.
Yeah, I can't believe they went to 5 points.
It's like, so I think they're pretty much done for. I think you want to look for your Plague Bearers are good. A lot of people are talking about maybe taking smaller squads because you can't make a -2 to hit anymore. So I still like the big squad, but I could see both sides of it.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Demonettes?
Yeah. All right.
They've got the least hit from points.
It's true.
They're
I think
super fast.
I think them and Bloodletters are on the same page.
Yeah. They move super
they
fast.
They are fast. I don't have any. Main reason I don't play them. But you could take like the triple or double Keeper Secrets list, like a patrol, and take some Demonettes. They're strong.
I just didn't know if it was something you could we could just proxy test or something some week.
Maybe.
I just think their mobility could be useful.
It's
and they're not
T3.
bad.
They're only T3.
Yeah.
-1 on their claws, so you die. Like in our meta, they're probably not great because we got a lot of tanks and they're not great against that.
Yeah, that's fair.
But they are quick and they can advance and charge if you run them into all. If they're next to a character, run them into all. Sinesh. I think going forward, I'm going to stick with Zinch and Nurgle for the most part because it lends itself better to the double detachments or the single detachment because you lose any ability, the loci or whatever they're called.
So what are you gonna? So what's your next build? What as far as competitive build goes? Roughly, not exact points, but kind of rough. What are the bones of it?
Right now, I'm looking at Lord of Change with the robe and the sword still, because it's just so unkillable, even though he went up 20 points. Right? Like, I haven't played a game yet, but I've got Great Unclean One in there right now, just because he's tanky. And then a Demon Prince of Corn, my 3 HQs, with plan on summoning the Sloppy Bile Pepper. I try out the 50, or I think it went down to like 40 Plague Bearers, like one squad of 20, just to cut on the points because they're so expensive now.
Yeah.
Stick with Nurglings, because Nurglings didn't change at all.
Nurglings gonna Nurgle.
They didn't change in points.
Yeah.
They're still strong. And
They're indestructible.
I think I got a squad of 4.
They're insane.
You can't kill them.
I'm gonna try the flies again, because like I said, I think table control is a lot more important in 9th edition.
And they didn't go up in points either, do they?
They did like 3 points. They did a little bit, but
I
not
mean,
crazy.
they got like early 8th edition Dickin out of nowhere, so.
Yeah, I'm going to try a squad of 5 of them, and I got some Seekers on the way. Not Seekers, Screamers. Yeah, the guys they're fast and they're like melee, 4 of them vulnerable.
Okay.
So
that sounds cool.
I'm going to stick with the Skull Cannons, because
have they been doing good for you?
They've been doing alright, but I'm painting them. And
they look dope. You guys should see the Skull Cannon. You should put it on Twitter so people can see it.
I might do that. But they actually a little helped because they're not infantry, so they ignore the heavy rule. They don't have to deal with the heavy rule anymore, so you can move them and shoot them. Every time I played them, they were pretty static because they hit on 3s. You don't want to hit on 4s, but
Yeah.
now you'll be able to move them. I got the Demon Prince of Corn to move with them, so maybe be a little more mobile because they do mortal wounds when they charge. They can heal themselves, that kind of thing.
That seems good, dude. I like that. Anything else you want to talk about points wise on your armies?
Dark Eldar got really hammered, so I'm glad they weren't like my main army and I put a ton of time in them. But I'll still finish them. But their troops all went up a ton of points.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do some adjustments, or
there's some light over the horizon because the rumor mill, a lot of people think is a new Drakari character. Like 2 of the last rumor mills have been pretty close to what she already has. So if that's the case, there might be getting one of the early codexes. Otherwise, they're not gonna come out with a model in a vacuum.
And I've heard that people really like the Harlequins.
And Harlequins are busted.
And you have some Harlequins.
I do. Harlequins didn't get hurt that much at all.
Yeah.
Harlequins are going to be, and another army that Troy has that people really like, Death Guard. They think that the Death Guard, because they didn't go up, they were already pretty expensive, so you didn't see a lot of it. So they didn't really tack on a ton of points.
Yeah, Magnus Mortarion is probably the best list I have. It's just people are tired of playing it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I get that.
Right.
They're definitely one of those models. They're pretty abrasive on the table.
That is probably the competitive list I would play if I played one.
Yeah, I could see that. All right. I think the next most dicked person's probably Chad.
Yeah. I mean, everything except for my Tech Marine went up.
Yeah.
Everything. My Dreadnought finally got nerfed.
We got to look at it. Everything in almost everybody's army went up.
I agree.
So you can't just be like, my stuff went up.
But
that doesn't really say anything.
The main things that I were playing in Scepter squads went from 25 to 40. I mean, Eliminator squads went up 10 points apiece per model.
Didn't go up as much because their guns got baked into the cost.
Because that unit wasn't that
It
played.
looks bad.
It looked real bad, but
that
it's actually not that much.
Just
What
like
happened to Immortals? They went up 3 points, but they deleted the gun
they
and
did
it
that
put it all baked into the cost.
when you look at the Hellblasters went up from 18 to 33, but their guns are free now, so they stayed the same.
They
price.
actually didn't change at all.
They changed not
They
at
might
all,
actually be good.
I don't know if they're going to be good.
which could be a
Might be
replacement
playable.
for my Relic Leviathan Dreadnought that went up 47 points.
Yeah.
Which we told you a long time ago Forge World was going to get hit.
And both the Repulsor Executioners went up 40 points apiece.
Yeah.
And Bobby G went up 30 points. So, Intercessor Squad.
So what's the new list you're playing look like? Or do you know?
I want to try the Eradicators when I get them. They're 120 points for the squad of 3.
Are they in the Indominus box?
They are in the Indominus box.
So you're going to have 2 sets of them.
2 sets of them. That could cut to...
Right there's your Relic Leviathan, or there's your Leviathan, dude. You need to be running those 2 squads of that for sure.
I'm thinking of cutting a squad of Intercessors and the Relic Leviathan Dreadnought and reworking in 2 squads of those and a squad of Hellblasters.
That seems good.
Just to try them. The Repulsors are a threat, regardless of their points. I think the 40 points now make them kind of balanced, because when they were 330 and I got 8 guns, 376 now is. I think
it just makes me. You know what makes me sick? To look at an Imperium datasheet. I'm so tired of seeing Imperium models with more rules than my entire codex. It's insane.
My captain went up 5 points, but it's okay.
Yeah. There's just no other armies have like that many rules on a model. Like Mortarion doesn't have as many rules as a captain, and he's 490 points.
Bobby G going back up, like he went all over.
He's all over the place. They can't get him right.
Then he went to 400, then he went to 350. Now he's 380.
See, I think he was probably going to be fine around 350 because you can't reroll to keep him up now.
Yeah, I don't know if they baked that into his cost or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's a big question mark.
It feels pretty bad just watching the games.
Yeah,
he's failed 100% of the 2 games he's played. That sucks.
Yeah.
The worst things were the aggressors. They went from 21 points apiece to 40 points apiece, and the poor Eliminator squad. I love the Eliminator squads, but they got wrecked. They went up 56%.
Well, yeah, they were like one of the best units
Yeah.
Pretty much every Marine list, I think, would take some number.
I had 2
They were
squads
strong.
in most of my lists.
Yeah.
Now
At 70
At
points,
least
they were
you
probably
dodged
cheap.
you weren't playing like the super good stuff, like
Yeah, like Centurions and stuff.
the Centurions or the Thunderfires.
yeah, Centurions
Thunder
Dev
Fighters got
squad
hammered.
went up, 50% to 60 from 40, and like
Aggressive
Whirlwinds went from
points.
65 to 125.
Yeah.
Like
They got some Marines got some hefty
they got wrecked on some things.
stuff, and
Hopefully it fixes them. I hope it fixes them for the meta. I really do.
I don't think you're gonna see like maxed out Thunderfire cannons on every Marine list.
Yeah, no, Thunderfire cannons.
You're
went,
probably still
you know,
going to see one because
It offers a lot of firepower.
shooting it twice and having movements and that kind of stuff
And
with
they
the
got,
stratagems and
some
stuff.
stratagems for it.
That stuff's still really powerful, but before it was just like just spam.
Yeah, it was only 80,
Yeah.
So
it was
cheap.
only 82 points for it and the gunner. Now it's like 100.
Okay. Okay.
It's ridiculous, unplayable. I think.
All right. Well, what about you, Zach? What are you excited about? What are you not excited about? Let's hear some positives. Come
Yeah.
on.
Well, I'm a Custodes player part time, so that was really good news. Like the captains on jet bike went up 15 points, and the Praetors went up 5 points, and pretty much everything else in the Codex stayed within a point or two of where it was.
Even
So
the Telemann?
It's still really close. Like
Nice. Cool.
the double
points?
fist Telemann
It was
went up
within,
in
like,
points.
Just to say it was like 15 within 15 points.
Yeah, it's like,
That's awesome.
like if we were testing at 1900 points last week, and my 1900 point list would be 1950 now. Like I could bring in one entire custodian guard guy. Like that's great.
And still have his whole list that he was.
That's
Yeah.
nice.
Like I was underpointed, so I think Custodes got a lot better just because everybody else went up 15-20% or whatever, and Custodes really didn't go anywhere. Like the Terminators went up a point, I think. So that's really good. The guards stayed the same or went up a point. Like
Good.
the nuts and bolts of that army. If you're not spamming bikes, you didn't really see a price increase. I don't spam bikes, so that's pretty cool.
Well, and I think that was something that the army needed. So I'm glad to hear that. honestly didn't know if the Telemann changed or anything. So maybe it's got some viability now.
Yeah.
Did the Forge World tanks or aircraft, did they get hit?
I didn't look at the Forge World aircraft, but the grav tanks didn't change a whole lot. Like pretty much everything in Custodes stayed pretty close to where it was, which is good news for Custodes. Guard, on the other hand, it was kind of hit or miss. Like I've avoided playing Bulgren for the last 3 or 4 months because I just assumed that they were going to get priced out of existence, and they went up 2 points.
Nice. That's
So-
good news.
So Bulgren back in, like that's great. I mean, the brute shields went up, but I was never a huge fan of the brute shield because you could just put the psychic power on there and
Can I ask you a question about that?
sure.
So, because now once you block with a model, you have to block with that model until it's destroyed. Do you still take combo shields, or do you just pick one and live with it?
I don't think I will anymore. Between that and the fact that brute shields cost 5 points now,
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth it. Like they have a 2-up save. You put the psychic power on it, effectively gives them a 1-up save, and then there's a 1 CP stratagem to give them +1 to their save. So they would have to hit you with like -3 before it even matters.
So boom. Keep that in mind if you're a Bulgren player. I've been wanting to ask you that all week. So
Yeah. Astropass went up. So no more 15-point psychers.
How much are they?
Was pretty cheap.
how many points are they?
I think they're 26 now.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
But that's a big increase when you go from 15.
Sure.
It is. It is.
I don't know if I'll spam 3 in literally every list anymore. I'll probably still play them, but maybe not. The biggest problem with Guard is they priced heavy bolters at 15 points on vehicles. And that just wrecks every vehicle on Guard because you have to take 1 heavy bolter. And it's not baked into the cost, so everything went up. Everything went up, and then heavy bolters were 8 points, so they almost doubled in points.
Woof.
They got you with the sneaky points raise.
Right. When I was looking at the cover or looking at it through the points, I was like, this isn't like the Lehman Russ went up like 20 points. I'm like, okay, that's not great. The Hellhound went up 10 points. I was like, hey, that's pretty good. And then you get to the heavy bolter and it doubles. You're just like, woof.
Goes over the guns. Oh.
Yeah.
So
it's-
really, you added like 30 points to every Lehman Rust.
Right.
And
Like, I don't know. Like, I'm really gonna have to do some brewing because I don't know if sponsons are worth it anymore. Like, it's that bad. Like, you really don't want to pay 45 points for heavy bolters. Like,
Well, I think if you're playing Lehman Russes, you don't play sponsons. I think if you're playing tank commanders, you still have a good enough ballistic skill to make it worth it. But I think if you're playing Lehman Russes, you run lean and mean. Like,
yeah, I mean, but I don't know if like demolishers didn't go up, so that's more good news. They stayed the same, which I expected those to go up. So pretty happy about that. Yeah, I don't even know if you bother sponsons on your tank commanders. It really, I haven't done a whole lot of list building, mostly because I'm lazy.
Having to do it with paper and pen makes it a lot harder to do.
it does.
I don't know. Battlescribe has definitely spoiled me. But I don't even know if you take them in tank commanders now. Like, there's 1 point difference between a heavy flamer and a heavy bolter now, so maybe you're going to see a whole lot more heavy flamers since you can shoot those in combat.
Yeah, they did kind of have some viability. So.
Right, I was already leaning towards heavy flamers on my whole mount, but now that they're 1 point more, might as well.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. I mean,
But I just have to go back through and replay the
especially
game.
with demolisher cannons.
Yes. I just gotta go back through my mind and do the mental gymnastics. How often are heavy bolters worth firing? Because a lot of time, like 15 points a piece, they're just super rugged.
Yeah, I understand that. That makes sense.
But some other stuff went down, like plasma guns on your guard squads went down 2 points. That's great for guard. Like, now you can spam.
Scions.
So that's what I was going to ask. How about the Scions or the other troop choice, right?
Right, they got hit harder than regular guard squads.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. If they,
I think
if
they were
took a
7
shot.
before and they went up to 9, so
Okay.
9's
But can't they all carry plasma?
no, two out of your 5-man squad.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. That's not as good as I thought.
But they got some good stratagems and
they-
rules too. So
I don't think they get the cheap plasma either, because the cheap plasma goes on the BS4 and Scions are BS3. So
Oh, okay. Okay.
so none of that cheekiness. But like grenade launchers were like 3 points and they went up to 5 points. Like, it seems like they're just trying to put everything in groups of 5, which
it does seem like they rounded up a
Yeah,
fair
they
amount of points.
definitely did
But
that a lot.
didn't need it.
I'm hoping that isn't like a trend for all of 9th and they start tuning on some of this, because right now a BS4 guardsman heavy bolter is the same as it is for a Marine, and the hit on BS3, that seems significantly better than
It is.
for the
I
exact
would-
same price.
But they pay a lot more for the body.
That's
It
true.
holds
Yeah,
that
we just talk
bolter.
about how many rules Marines get.
Right.
Extra attacks, extra.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
theirs should be
Extra
more
everything.
expensive.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree. Trust me. You don't need to convince me that Marines are undercosted.
I don't agree. Yeah, that's
But
fine.
that's about it. Custodies win big, and guard, you gotta find it, but like, it's not as bad as some people were making it sound, but it's not. Like, Bullgren being cheap is super good news for.
Yeah, you have literally said that they were going to fix that
But
for months.
So how are the Valkyries?
Valkyries have gone down. I think they actually went down if you go off the base loadout. The
So-
Valkyries are going to be really
So
good.
you might be able to Bullgren bomb in the back from a Valkyrie
Oh,
again.
That'd be cool.
Because the multiple rocket pods cheaper, but the last cannon went up. But
You take out the heavy bolter on it, or does it have to have?
you can swap the heavy bolter, I think, for a last cannon. I don't know. It's been a while since I've done it, but you used to take 2 heavy bolters at the sides of the Valkyries. You're
Probably not-
definitely not
probably
doing
not
that
doing that
anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think the baseline Valkyrie actually went down a few points.
Might be something to look at.
Right on.
Did
What-
you look at Tyranids points at all, or you just kind of write them off?
Yeah, I looked at Tyranids, like all the little guys went up a point, which is not great. I was really hoping they would stay at 4 because Tyranids really need some love. Gene Stealers went up 5 points, but then they took the Scything Talons down to 0 points, so they were 2, so I guess they went up 3 points a model, which is kind of a lot, but not super bad, I guess. Artifexes seem like they got hit pretty hard. I'll have to really dig into the numbers to make sure that they look bad on
Yeah.
paper. The rest of it seems pretty middle of the road. I don't think they got any favors. I don't think you coming out of the points adjustment and going, "Hey, Tyranids are back."
Yeah. That's rough.
They might not have gotten.
They could have used some love instead. They got the
Yeah.
same thing everybody else
I
got.
think they just got the normal treatment. To be honest, I don't think they got any help.
Okay. Anvil, what about you?
Similar, kind of like what happened with Zach. Admech got hit with the heavy stubber tax. So heavy stubbers used to be 2 points. They're now 5 points.
Right.
So they almost more than doubled in price.
And you have to carry a bunch of stubbers on them.
Everything is jam
Everything
packed.
had a stubber, yeah.
Everything is jam packed with stubbers.
Yeah.
So everything jumped up, and then all the base hulls went up in price. So, like for instance, we were talking about the incinerator or disintegrator, Scorpius disintegrator, went from 85 to 115 points. Right, that's your mortar boat, but it carries 3 heavy stubbers, so that also increases 9 points on top of that. So you're talking, you went up 35%, plus the 3 guns you got to carry went up.
That you have to carry.
Yeah.
Yeah, no option there.
So, but basically everything in the army went up like 5-ish points. Like the breachers went up 5 points. The destroyers went up 5 points. The arc rifles went up in points that the breachers carry. Their regular troops are at 9 points apiece for both of them, which is rugged. And they're in kind of a weird place. The transport, the cheap transport, the Dune Rider went from 65 to 80 points. Plus, it carries 3 heavy stubbers. So, well, it carries 1 heavy stubber or 2 heavy stubbers and a twin heavy stubber.
How'd the plane do? Get hammered?
The plane actually didn't go up in points, but the twin Cognos las cannons and it's got 2 of the robot guns on them, which are 15 points apiece. It's got, or actually, it might have a twin heavy phosphor blaster, but the autocannons, or the las cannon, I believe, went up. So, and it's got heavy stubbers, of course. So, it's pretty much the same, but it went up slightly. The Transvector, which was the transport, went up a few points, and the bomber went up a few points. But all your HQs went up 5-ish points. But the biggest part is the stubbers. All went up 10 points. So you're talking, the robots went up 15 points per robot. So that's one of the big. Everyone thinks they're going to be a lot better. Dragoons and Iron Striders. Now the Iron Strider Ballisteri, the shooty Dragoon body, went down in points. It did go down to 35 points. But the autocannon, I believe, is slightly more expensive, so it works out about the same. But the Dragoon went up a point, and they also nerfed them in the dirt because they came out with the FAQs. The FAQ says you can't get more than +1, right, on any roll modifier. Well, it used to be the stratagem gave you +2, and they tased that their taser goads they have exploded on rolls of 6+. Well, you added 2. They used to tase on 4 up. Well, they've changed that. It's now on modified rolls of 6, so they only tase on 6s.
That's for game wide, right?
That's
They've been making that change.
They've been making that change.
I don't think they made it game wide though. Because Mortarion still says 7+.
Well, that's a different. That's a wound roll, but like hits of 6. But I think anything on hits rolls of 6 are going to be unmodified, pretty much across the board. So they did nerf that. So it's it made the Dragoons pretty much unplayable. There's no reason to play Dragoons as a fast attack because you can't make a -2 to hit. You can't give them +2 to hit. They're just, they have a 6/7 vulnerable, and they have a 3-up save, or I might even have a 4-up save, but they just get destroyed.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are moving to think the sterilizers and or the raiders, the new service, which all those new units kind of stayed pretty much about where they were. But overall, the biggest which happened with Zach's Astra Militarum, the holes and stuff, the base didn't go up a whole lot, but it's the heavy stubber, the little bitty increments like that everything has 3 heavy stubbers, and it adds 15 points on top of every model. In addition to the 20 points it went up that really put a hurt on it.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be kind of two ways you can look at the way AdMech's going to move. I think they're going to get away from the mortar boats just because at 150 points, they're probably not pulling their weight. Like, they might wither down a couple squads of, like, they're going to get like guardsmen, but against Marines, like, they're not great. They'll wither down some.
They do 2 damage, don't they?
They're only -1. If Marines are in cover, they still get 3 up against it. It's not the best. It just takes a while. Like, but it's 150 points. How many Marines you got to kill to get there?
2 squads, right?
Yeah.
1 squad. Who knows now?
So it's not likely to get points if it's not, getting to shoot his missiles and things and stuff. And even then, it's still not entirely likely. A lot of people are thinking you might go with drills. The drill didn't really get adjusted at all.
Yeah.
So it might go back to putting vanguards in drills with plasmas and running them up and jumping them out and plasma and stuff.
Makes sense.
Or because the Rangers they're 45 points a squad for 5, and they're not survivable. So you can go with the breacher spam like I've been testing, but the issue we have then is it's expensive and it's not very mobile. So a lot of people are thinking you might go to more either Taraxi or the Raiders, Cerberus Raiders, to get more fast attack, and you trim down to like a thing of robots and maybe 2 doom crawlers as your like heavy punch, and try to just push up the board with either transports with jeep troops and your fast attacks. And
So what's your list gonna look like?
currently what I've been playing with is 3 squads of breachers, 2 tech priests, a Daedalus, 3 mortar boats, a thing of 4 robots, and 3 doom crawlers.
And that still fits a 2K?
That's pretty much right at 2K. I think I have to trim 20 points. I got to look at the list.
Yeah, but it's close to 2K.
Close.
Okay.
But that's with 12 breachers. It's 4 in each squad, so I can always trim a breacher and.
Well, and I mean, universally, everybody's pretty much in agreement that you've got one of the most versatile armies going into 9th edition now. So, I mean, at least you have options. I will say it sounds like you did get hammered pretty hard on points, but had you not, the army was the very clear
Everyone
strongest
seems
army
to
in
think-
8th edition.
Everyone seems to think, like, yeah, they went up, but they didn't get a Gene Stealer cult, hammering.
Yeah. Well, Gene Stealer Cult didn't need
So
another
we're
hammer.
slightly below, like, say, Death Guard and Custodes, where they were already kind of expensive and they didn't really ramp them up too hard. Where AdMech was generally pretty cheap, decent units, but they've gone to be a little more expensive, and they're still just decent units. So,
Yeah.
So there's nothing an army can look at and really that like makes you quick in your boots when you look at an AdMech army. Like there's a lot of stuff, but there's not like one unit you're like, ooh, that's gonna be bad. So it's just all those little incremental increases to push out. I think my original list lost like 400 points. Like what used to be 2,000 points is now 2,400 and some points.
Yeah.
So I have to pare back considerably, and I'm going to have to give up some. More than likely, I'm going to have to give up like a Doom Crawler. I'm going to have to go down to like 4 robots and a Doom Crawler and add some fast attacks. More than likely,
Yeah.
to add some mobility to my army.
That makes sense. It seems like a good fit.
It's just you don't get to keep like a full.
You don't get to have
squad of
everything.
tanks. We don't get to have a full squad.
Can't
of
have
tanks.
everything.
Yeah. That's
They
the
do
theme
all
of
of
8th
that.
edition. They
Right.
did that with CPs. They're doing it with models. Like they want you to have to build a list.
Actually, you get to have all the CP you want, pretty much, except for guard.
Not unless you splash. Well, if you're any non-monofaction army, you
Yeah,
don't
I
get
mean
to
a lot of like we discussed before, a lot of like demons they never had that many CP to start with.
Yeah.
No,
So
it's
they're
easy.
giving all
Well,
those people.
demons
You can
have
get
a lot of
3 battalions
CP.
with demons easy.
Yeah, but they're giving everybody this extra CP that they didn't have to start with.
Because those are the ones that are making out like bandits.
Yeah.
I mean,
For sure.
Yeah, well, that's the thing now. You either play a monofaction army. Once again, though, you have to make that choice. You either play monofaction and have CPs, or you splash for raw power and you don't have it. I mean, it's just like, I like the way ninth is seventh. I like the way ninth is building personally. I think it's good. I think it it finally feels like there's checks and balances. You can't just put the most powerful shit in everything.
But I think for us, really, we're gonna have to see the GT pack come out to see, what the missions are like that we're gonna play if you play at in a competitive level, and then figure out. It's gonna take a while to tweak your list to figure out like what works best in the metagame.
Yep.
Is it gonna be like we said before, like earlier? Is it gonna be fast and board control, or is it gonna be where there's maybe even a little more melee there used to be in the past, or is it gonna be punch from the back? With like a couple armor in the back supporting. It's like how do you achieve the victory with your victory points in your list?
Yeah, I could see that. Well, I will jump on to, first off, let me put my soapbox down. Cultists are 6 points, and guardsmen are 5. God damn it. Are you shitting me? That's all I have to say about that. They did it. They did the thing that I really didn't think they would do. But anyway.
Next, they'll just be legends, and we won't have to hear this.
I wish they would. I wish they would just do that. They put a clearly, they price increased a clearly inferior unit. For no reason. I don't understand it. How are they 1 point cheaper than a boy? That makes no logical sense to me.
Shoot him twice.
Before we move on, like Gretchen went up from 3 to 5,
Yeah,
which I think
kind of got hammered.
I think that's rough.
That is rough. That I did not know Gretchen went from 3 to 5. That's insane. They should have just been 4. I thought 3 was too cheap for Gretchen, given all the increases, but
From what I've seen, there's not a unit cheaper than 5.
there's probably not.
Actually, there might not be. I can't think of one.
So,
I haven't seen one
Gretchen got pretty hard. Seriously, we're not going to do the cultist line.
Yeah. What are the cheapest tyranid?
They're 5.
Yeah,
all went up to
Brimstone
5.
Horrors were 3. They're now 5. So
Yeah.
yeah, you might be
Yeah.
right. They just capped it off at 5. It seems like they did a lot of rounding up to 5 or 10.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Everything just kind of like, oh, that's 18. Now it's 20.
Now,
Just kind of generally just went
Yeah,
up 5.
yeah. Pretty much characters are across the board, unless they were really good, went up like 5 points.
Now, as far as Necrons go, I am holding my opinion on what the points increases look like, because I don't feel like they're bad at all. But I don't know what the new codex is going to look like. But the main ones are Warriors went from 11 to 12, Immortals went from 17 to 18, Doomsday Arcs went from 160 to 180, Tombblades went from 30 to 32, and Destroyers went from 50 to 60. Really, the only two that really hurt in this are the Doomsday Arcs and the Destroyers, because they're both essentially a 60-point increase on your list if you play them the way you typically would. And then I don't think Tombblades are playable, or not Tombblades. I don't think Doomblades, the ship, is playable now because it's 170. It was 150, so it was already not a high impact unit unless it was insanely high impact, and you had to pay a 450 point cost and keep them all together and keep them alive, because they didn't I shot a few games and I didn't kill any. I couldn't even kill like an infantry squad when I played against Anvil with this 150 point model. So I think it's just exponentially worse at 170, and it's a huge build cost to my army to try to fit 3 flyers in the list.
I think that's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
3 flyers in general is just hard
You
to
don't
pull
have
off.
a
Air wing
at all.
Yeah. So I think that I can tell you I'm playing my list coming this weekend will have none of those in there, and it was like really cool when it happened and really would like skew the game. But when it didn't happen, I had 450 points that really didn't do anything, and I felt like the rest of my list had enough killing power that I didn't really need it. And I've got enough mobility that's more controlled than the ships to where I don't think I need their mobility. So I'm just essentially cutting those out from my list entirely. Now, I will say there's a couple of other notable point changes in there. If you're a Tesseract Vault lover, it went from 565, I think, to 550, so you got 15-point drop there. 566 to 550. So that's kind of interesting. I mean, they're still not good because they changed some of their rules.
Can we bring back the 3 of them?
Can
we do that?
You can bring 3.
Ooh, I like it.
You won't have a lot of points left, but you totally could rock 3 of them. Now, I do think there's something to be said about running double Tesseract Vault and Obelisk, because an Obelisk went, it only went from 350 to 360, I believe. 390. It went to 390. But the Obelisk, let me read this to you real quick. So this is 390 points. It's in a Lord of War slot. Its movement is, let's see here,
Can it move?
8 inches. Yeah. It's got an 8-inch move, 3 plus skill, and it's got 4 of these Tesla spheres. So it's got 20 shots at 24-inch range, strength 7, and they explode on 6s, right? But it also has the gravity pulse, which I think is the crazy thing. Yeah. So at the start of your shooting phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit that can fly and is within the distance specified on the damage table above, which it starts at 24 inches or 18 inches. That's a pretty big bubble, right? If you roll a 6, it just deals D3 mortal wounds. So given the mobility-oriented styling of the metagame, I think that I think it could have some viability. I don't think it's great, but I think that it could possibly be good. Just being able to dish out D3 mortal wounds if people start playing a lot of mobile flying units like the Taraxi guys or whatever, the small squad units like that where you can just kill models. So I thought it was kind of interesting. It didn't get hit too hard, but if you were gonna run the super heavy, that's how I'd play it. 2 Tesseract Vaults and a Obelisk to make up for it. I don't know. I thought that was super interesting. The other stuff is way more expensive than that, so it's not even really worth discussing. The Monolith also got a pretty decent points reduction, which I still think it's hot garbage unless they changed the way Deep Strike works coming out of it, but it did go from 300 to 270. So a 30-point reduction. I didn't think anything would get a reduction on there, but I don't know. I thought those were interesting changes. The Necron's Codex is only a page and a half, so it's pretty easy to track everything. I'm excited that Warriors only went up a point, and Immortals only went up a point. I kind of shit my pants when I saw Immortals went from 8 to 18, but they included their war gear. So their war gear was 9, so it was only a net 1 point increase. I'm kind of concerned about Destroyers, but I'm hoping that I have faith that GW is going to introduce some new models to where they don't have us only playing this old plastic. They've got all these new models. I want them to be good. My current list, though, is basically I am going to try and ignore blast rules with my new list. I'm going to try to play 40 Warriors and 2 squads of 5 Immortals. And those are going to be the ones that kind of avoid hitting it. But I'm going to go ahead and go balls out on the Warriors because they've got reanimation protocols. So I think they can counteract some of the max shots on units, and they have a really solid save. So anything that really gets a shit ton of shots on them, their chances of wounding seem pretty low. So I'm going to be trying that. I'm definitely super stoked on my heavies. I'm wanting to try. So I think it's the elite unit is where I know it's the elite unit or I believe it is. Let me make sure it's the elite or fast attack before I say this. And I saw another unit. I was actually Triarch Stalker is in elite. So I'm going to be testing double Triarch Stalker because they really didn't get a point increase, and triple Doomsday Arc. And then I'm using the new My Will Be Done, which increases the ballistic skill. So I can be Triarch stalking a model and say shoot 2 Doom or murder boats there, and Triarch stalk another model and shoot a bunch of shit at that, and then I can My Will Be Done another murder boat and shoot somewhere else, and everything's hitting on 2s. So that's kind of the focus of that, is having really high quality heavy firepower, and that's only like 600 points of the list. The rest of it is going to be focused on mobility in my destroyers, and I'm dropping down to small Tomb Blade squads. Now I am also dropping down to 5 destroyers instead of 6. I don't think it's worth the 6th to give them the bonus on the 5 or the extra models, and having to stay into like the weird coherency because they're kind of big and awkward, and I kind of like to just zip them around. So those are the changes I'm making. I'm excited about it. I'll be back on next week with a review on how the list fared. But overall, I feel like a winner coming out of it. And I have a new codex coming. So let's just hope that they don't put trash rules in the codex. As long as they're decent rules and they clean up some of the stuff, I'm excited. Also, I'm not playing Sawtech anymore because I don't really think you need it. I'm playing Mefrit, which lets you deal an extra AP at half range. I think that's pretty insane, honestly, especially with the goal is to veil the big squad of immortals or of warriors, and they're essentially going to come in at strength 5, AP 3, damage 1. So I'm going to pretty much guarantee clear troops with it, and I'm excited for that. But that's most of my Necron stuff. It's not a big codex. There's not a lot to talk about. But if you're a Necrons player right now, you should probably be pretty excited. And if the rumored stat sheet for the Silent King is accurate, it's going to be an auto-include in every list. Like, it's going to be insane. I really hope the rumored sheet, though, is accurate. That being said, I guess we'll go ahead and go to social stuff. You guys got anything else to talk about this week?
I don't think so. Covered a lot.
We did.
Points and everything.
We did. All right. Well, first off, on Saturday or Sunday, July 26th, starting at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to be doing a marathon stream where I try to assemble and paint 3 full boxes of Indominus for Necrons. And I'm basically going to go as long as I can. I'd like to say it'll be 24, but I don't know. And Chad's going to join me, and he's going to build like 3 models. And it's going to be awesome.
Ooh, that seems like a high number.
I know.
My goal is to get them all together.
So I've got a plan to speed paint them. So if you want to come see how I'm going to be speed painting Necrons to a pretty high quality, I'm still going to be doing lighting effects and all that stuff. It's twitch.tv/BR1NXL. You can follow me on Twitter. It's LLBR1NXL on L. There's another L on there. On Twitter. I'll have all the links in the show notes. And then we have our Tactical Reserves Facebook group. That'll be in the show notes. And then how about you, Anvil?
I'm at EvilBeard on Twitter.
Zach?
Mr. Fingerguns on Twitter.
Troy?
Viking Hard on Twitter.
And Chad.
At Chad B. McKenzie, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, everything.
All right. And maybe if you guys give them a follow, give them a reason to start sharing pictures of their models. All these guys are doing like some unbelievable paint work. So get out there and check it out. Once again, thanks for the comments and let us know what you thought of this show. And what I'd like to know for you is what are you most excited about given the points changes coming in 9th edition? What model do you feel in your army won the most? All right, everybody, have a good one.